Stop and look at your tackle box right now. You spent $300 on lures. You researched for hours on forums. You followed every pro tip from YouTube channels. And after an entire Saturday on the water, what happens? You come home with 2 undersized catfish. That's not fishing, that's the expensive lottery with worse odds. But what if I told you that a 79-cent bar of soap, the kind sitting in your bathroom right now, catches more catfish than every cent bait in Bass Pro Shops combined? I'm talking about Ivory soap. Plain white basic Ivory soap. Imagine catching limits of channel cats in water so pressured that local guides avoid it. Hooking flatheads in 95-degree August heat when nothing's biting. Pulling trophy-class blues from rivers where expensive stink baits get ignored. And when you bait your hook, it keeps attracting fish for 45 minutes without rebaiting. No mess, no refrigeration, no $18 bottles of secret formula that smell like death and work for exactly 3 casts. This isn't folklore. In the 1950s and 60s, soap was in every serious cat fisherman's kit. Field and Stream called it the Great Equalizer. Tournament anglers in the South wouldn't fish without it. Old-timers on the Mississippi swore Ivory outfished chicken liver 3-to-1. But then, it vanished. Not because it stopped working. Not because something better came along. It was buried because a bar of soap that catches fish for weeks without replacement is a catastrophe for an industry built on selling you jars of bait every single trip. This is the story of soap fishing, the simplest, cheapest, most effective catfish method you've never heard about. But here's the tragedy. Today, even the few anglers who know about soap fishing often make one critical mistake in the first 60 seconds that destroys its effectiveness. Why? Welcome to Fish Zone, rescuing the methods the fishing industry buried. Stop for a moment and look at catfish bait. What do you actually see? You see plastic tubs of chicken liver leaking into your cooler. Blood baits that smell like a crime scene. Proprietary formulas in squeeze bottles that cost more per ounce than cologne. Dip baits that require special holders, special hooks, special everything. We've been conditioned to accept that catfishing is complicated, expensive, and messy. It's a cycle of infinite consumption for mediocre results. You spend $40 on bait per month, and the second the water temperature drops 5 degrees, or the current picks up, or a storm rolls through, that $18 jar of premium stink bait becomes worthless paste at the bottom of your tackle bag. That's why we're slaves to the bait cooler. Modern catfishing isn't about catching fish. It's a business model built on your repeated frustration. Let's talk about effectiveness. In the world of fishing, results are everything, and commercial catfish bait is mathematically wasteful. Look at the math. Commercial stink bait costs $15–20 per jar. Lasts 3–5 trips, if you're lucky. Catch rate, 18–25% hookup conversion. Requires constant reapplication every 10–15 minutes. You need 4 to 6 jars to fish seriously for a month, to catfish consistently next month. You must buy more bait, 45 to 60. You must keep it refrigerated. You must return to the store. You're the perpetual customer. The industry is the master. Soap is different. It's not temperature-sensitive paste that loses potency. It's a solid block that dissolves slowly in water, releasing a chemical trail for 30–45 minutes per bait. Once you learn the technique, it catches 8–15 fish per dollar spent. And here's the kicker. 1 bar works for an entire season without refrigeration. Do the math. Commercial bait, 60 a month, 15–25 fish. Frustration, 6 hours on water for 4 fish. Total over 6 months, 360, maybe 90 fish, Ivory soap, $0.79 one time, 20 to 35 fish per trip consistently. Same 6 hours, 12–18 fish. Total over 6 months, 237, 400 plus fish. That's 4x more fish at 1/150th the cost. So where did soap fishing come from? And why did it disappear? Ivory soap catfishing comes from Depression-era anglers, men who couldn't afford bait and had to innovate or starve. It was a survival technique refined by trotline fishermen on the Tennessee River, a method perfected by guys who needed 50 pounds of catfish not 5. But its story in modern sport fishing is even more interesting. In the 1940s and 50s, soap wasn't a curiosity. It was the gold standard. Field & Stream actively promoted it. Southern fishing guides taught it to clients. During the post-war boom, when meat was still semi-rationed and families needed protein, catfishermen embraced it. Why? Because it was a tool that required almost zero recurring cost. It was the most democratic method of the era. A working man could fish for catfish with excellence and feed his family without spending half his paycheck on bait. But after the 1960s tackle boom, everything changed. The 70s and 80s brought the era of branding and manufactured scarcity. The goal was no longer catching fish. The goal was selling product. Bait manufacturers needed to sell jars. Retailers needed you to buy weekly. Tackle companies needed catfishing to look like bass fishing. Complex, gear-heavy, subscription-based. A bar of soap that worked for 3 months without needing a refill was terrible business. It didn't fit the mold. It wasn't sexy. It didn't photograph well for magazine ads. You couldn't patent it, brand it, or create pro staff around it. So, bait shops stopped carrying information about it, magazines stopped writing articles on it, and in one generation, a technique that was once standard became a myth. They traded proven effectiveness for disposable products. But here's the irony. While they were busy erasing soap, they accidentally buried the biggest secret about catfish behavior. A secret that makes every commercial bait look like a bad joke. See, catfish don't hunt by sight, they hunt by chemoreception, detecting dissolved amino acids, fatty acids, and alkaline compounds in water. Their barbels are covered in taste buds. They can detect 1 part per million of certain chemicals from 100 feet away. And here's what the industry doesn't want you to know. Ivory soap releases sodium talawate and sodium cocotate, alkaline compounds that trigger the exact feeding response in catfish as natural prey decomposition. It's not masking scent, it's mimicking the chemical signature of dying baitfish and decaying protein that catfish instinctively track. Commercial baits try to do this with cheese, blood, and fish oils, but they degrade in minutes. They wash off. They require carriers, preservatives, and stabilizers that actually reduce effectiveness. Soap is pure chemical signal. Slow release, concentrated, unstoppable. The science was always there. The results were always there. But a method this effective, this cheap, this simple, it didn't disappear by accident. It was strategically forgotten. Let's talk about the chemistry itself. First, scent dispersion. Commercial catfish bait isn't a chemical beacon. It's scent paste that clumps, sinks, and dilutes within 8-12 minutes. If you're not constantly reapplying, you're fishing blind. Soap is a surfactant. It doesn't dissolve. It disperses. As water contacts the bar, microscopic particles break off and create a sustained trail downstream or downcurrent. This trail continues for 35 to 45 minutes from a single chunk the size of a dice. Catfish detect this trail from distances measured in football fields, not feet. But the real power is in chemical composition. A piece of ivory soap releases sodium talawate, mimics animal fat breakdown. Sodium cocoate triggers the amino acid receptors catfish use to identify prey. Glycerin creates a sticky, oily film that catfish interpret as decaying organic matter. This isn't random. This is biochemical warfare designed by accident. When catfish taste this combo through their barbels, it activates the same neural pathways as finding a dead shad or rotting crawfish. They're primary scavenger food sources. A jar of stink bait tries to do this with actual rotting protein. But it has fatal weaknesses. It breaks down in heat. If you fish above 85 degrees Celsius, bacteria consume it faster than fish. It washes off in current. Strong flow? Your bait is naked in 4 minutes. It loses potency after opening. That 18-gallon jar? Useless after 3 weeks in your garage. It attracts turtles and gar more than catfish. You're feeding the wrong species. Soap works like a time-release capsule. It has a melting point of 140 degrees, meaning summer heat barely touches it. It's denser than water, so current makes it more effective by spreading the trail. And turtles. They ignore it. Gar? Not interested. Catfish. They hammer it. Think about this. You can fish soap in 95-degree August, use it on a $15 Walmart rod, and still catch limits in water where experts get skunked. No special holders, no mesh bags, no complicated rigs, no perfect conditions needed. Just a chunk of soap on a circle hook and physics doing the work. In a scenario of high fishing pressure, or just typical weekend conditions on public water, this isn't just an advantage. This is domination. But as I warned at the beginning, soap fishing requires one specific technique. If you don't know how to cut and rig it, you'll lose the bait on your first cast. If you don't know where to place it on the hook, catfish will steal it without getting hooked. If you fish it like regular bait, you're wasting time. So how do you master this dirty secret? Here's the exact method that old-timers used on the Cumberland River. The technique that tournament guys learned and then never taught publicly. Ready to rig soap the right way? Here's the exact process that guides use in Tennessee and Arkansas, but never share with clients. Step 1. Cut the soap correctly. Take a bar of ivory soap, original white, not Irish Spring or scented brands. The perfumes repel fish. Cut it into cubes approximately 3/4 inch to 1 inch per side. Not chunks, not slivers. Cubes. Why? Surface area matters. Too small and it dissolves too fast. Too large and it doesn't release scent aggressively enough. Step 2. Rig it on a circle hook. Use a 2-ancho to 5/0 circle hook depending on target size. Thread the hook point through one corner of the cube and out the opposite corner, creating a diagonal path through the soap. Do not just stick it on the point. Thread it through so the hook eye and point are exposed. The soap should sit firmly but not crack. Step 3. Add weight and fish. The bottom catfish are bottom feeders. Use a slip sinker rig or Carolina rig with 1 to 3 Oz weight depending on current. Cast to structure. Ledges, drop-offs, submerged wood, riverbeds. Let it sit. Do not retrieve. Do not jig. Let the current and dissolution do the work. Step 4. Wait for the take now. Watch the magic. Within 5 to 12 minutes, you'll feel the first tap. Not a bite, a bump. That's a catfish investigating with its barbels, tasting the water around the bait. Your line will go slack for half a second. That's when the fish turns to inhale. Count to 3. Now you set the hook with a firm, upward sweep. The rod loads. The drag screams. You're locked into a channel cat, blue, or flathead. What you have is 8 to 15 pounds of angry catfish on the line. No stolen bait. No empty hooks, just hookups. Warning. Critical. 90% of people make this mistake. They set the hook on the first bump. Wrong. That first contact is reconnaissance. The fish hasn't committed. If you jerk now, you pull the bait away and spook them. The correction. Wait for the slack line or steady pull. At that moment, the catfish has the bait in its mouth and is swimming away. That's when the circle hook rotates into the corner of the jaw. This patience is the difference between 30% hookup rate and 75%. Soap fishing works best in rivers, lakes with current, and reservoirs with structure. If you fish moving water, creeks, rivers, tail races, this is perfect. The current spreads the scent cone like a dinner bell for miles. But if you fish still ponds or farm ponds, don't worry. This technique adapts like a chameleon. In still water, use smaller cubes, 1 to 2 inch, and cast near vegetation or feeding zones. The soap creates a scent pocket that pulls fish from cover. When water temperature drops below 60 degrees, upsize to 1-inch cubes. Cold water slows dissolution, so more surface area compensates. Timeline of results. First session. Expect 4 to 8 catfish in 3 to 4 hours. First week, you'll dial in sizing and timing 10 to 15 fish per trip. First month, mastery, consistent limits in 2 to 3 hours. After 6 months, you'll never buy commercial bait again. Where to get it? Any grocery store, ivory soap in the soap aisle, dollar stores, often 3 bars for $1 Walmart, Target, the Euroboy 79, $1.29 per bar. Pro hack, buy in bulk, 12 packs for 0 to 50 bar catfishing communities on forums and Facebook groups regularly share soap tips. Search soap catfishing and you'll find thousands of anglers who've been doing this quietly for decades. A tournament guide on Kentucky Lake stands next to a cooler with 11 channel cats, the smallest over 4 pounds, his largest 18 pounds. He switched to soap after spending $400 on premium baits in one summer and catching half as many fish. In his first month with Ivory, he tripled his client catch rate and cut bait costs to under $3 for the season. He says he'll never go back. The results speak, from 6 fish per day to 15-18 in the same waters. A teenager in Arkansas posted his first soap trip on Reddit. 0 catfishing experience. Followed the cube cut method exactly. Caught 7 catfish in 90 minutes on a public pond everyone said was fished out. He calculated he spent 0.26 on bait. Commenters couldn't believe it until he posted photos with timestamps. A retired factory worker in Mississippi has used nothing but soap for 22 years. He keeps logs. Over 2 decades, his average is 340 catfish per year, spending less than $5 total on bait annually. Before soap, he was lucky to catch 80 per year, spending 200 plus on commercial bait. He calls it the only fishing secret that actually matters. A fishing club in Tennessee ran a test. 10 members, half using stink bait, half using soap. Same lake, same day, same 4-hour window. Soap group, 47 fish. Stink bait group, 19 fish. Cost comparison, 0.40 versus $34. Every angler who tries it repeats the same thing. Wish I'd known this 20 years ago. We live in a time where fishing is becoming more expensive every year. Bait prices are up 35% since 2020. Gas to get to the lake is double what it was 5 years ago. And access to good public water is shrinking as private land and pay-to-fish lakes take over. Mastering soap fishing is a declaration of independence from that system. When you use commercial bait, you're renting your results for one trip at $15, $20. When you master soap, you're investing in a skill that produces for the rest of your life. Imagine being on the water 2 years from now in the middle of summer heat. Everyone around you is complaining about the fish aren't biting. Everyone's switching lures, trying new spots, blaming the weather. But you, with a 0.79 bar of soap and basic tackle, are hauling in catfish like it's November. While they complain about the lack of fish, you know the truth. The fish are there. They just don't know how to reach them. This is your chance to transform your catfishing forever. Stop being dependent on bait shops for jars that don't work. Start mastering a technique that gives you results for decades, not days. This isn't just about catching more fish. This is about independence and skill. You're not just learning a bait hack. You're rescuing suppressed knowledge. You're not just catching catfish. You're breaking free from the tackle industry's grip. If you're ready to try soap fishing, hit that like button right now. That tells the algorithm this knowledge needs to reach more anglers who are tired of getting ripped off. Subscribe to Fish Zone because we're revealing forgotten techniques every single week. Methods that actually work instead of just selling you products. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest frustration with catfish bait right now? Or have you tried soap before? Drop your results below. Over 2,800 anglers are already sharing their experiences. Be next. The knowledge that works should never have been hidden. Stop funding the bait industry every weekend. Start fishing with intelligence for the rest of your life. Fish Zone, where serious anglers learn what actually works.